you listen to me, you hillbilly punk who thinks the world's still round. I'm here to tell you it's not. It's flat!
He's an interesting guy, man, and, you know, he believes it, so. Kyrie, the earth is flat, right? Yeah. So, whatever.
That's news.
That's news. Here we go.
Wherever you are, make it Truth Frequency Radio.
What have you discovered about the Fremen duck? Tell me. Why haven't we heard from you? My lord, I suspect so much. I think they are the allies we seek. They are strong, fierce. They do not give their loyalty easily or quickly. As you know, the Imperium has never been able to take a census of the Fremen. Everyone thinks that there are but few wandering here and there in the desert. My lord, I suspect an incredible secret has been kept on this planet. That the Fremen may exist in vast numbers. Vast. And it is they who control Iraqis.
Broadcasting straight to you from a large spaceship, currently anchored over Raleigh, North Carolina, eagerly awaiting the 2017 International Flat Earth Conference coming this fall. Meanwhile, the Peanut Gallery is in a spaceship anchored over the Midwest breadbasket. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Strange World, where the truth is often stranger than fiction. I'm your host, Mark Sargent, the creator of Flat Earth Clues, which propose that all of us are living inside a Truman Show enclosed structure thousands of miles wide. Check it out at enclosedworld.com or just Google Flat Earth Clues. If you can't find it, well, then you're still feeling the afterglow of the eclipse that is now a week old. How fun is that? For those of you listening to this on YouTube and you want to hear the show live as it happens, please go to Truth Frequency Radio for the latest schedule. Currently, this show is on Tuesday nights at 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern. And if it is not August 29th, 2017 right now, then you're listening to a rerun, which means if you try to call into the show, yeah, you're probably going to get some voicemail, but you're not going to be able to talk to me live. Just to let you know, because that happens all the time. People just listen to reruns and then they just start calling. It's like, I'm going to call them right now. It's like, no, don't do it. I know you want to, but don't do it. Quote of the day from the Peanut Gallery is this. The fact that we live at the bottom of a deep gravity well on the surface of a gas-covered planet going around a nuclear fireball 90 million miles away and think this to be normal is obviously some indication of how skewed our perspective tends to be. That was from Douglas Adams. Really cool. A few announcements before we get to our guest, because this is going to be a guest show. Actually, it's a double guest show. And if I had a cool sound effect to be like, guest, but I don't have one. I just thought of that just now. The Flat Earth Conference, which is coming up November 9th. Get on the waiting list. Sign up for live streaming. Press passes. Do not try to ask for more than 2 if you can, because we're limited on those. Lie, cheat, and steal. Try to get in. If you're still looking for tickets, email me at msargent23@comcast.net, and I will, tell me your sob story. I will try to pass it on. Rumor has it that somebody was going to be selling a ticket tonight, but I don't have any information for them yet. If they call in during the show, we're not going to take calls at least until the second hour. I'm pretty sure between the three of us, we're just going to be yammering like monkeys. So, but if I get any more information on at least one rogue ticket out there that might be sold, because the tickets are transferable, not refundable, but are transferable, I will let you know. Jeffrey Grubb debate challenge still in effect, but gathering dust, because nobody wants to go up against physically probably the biggest head in flat Earth. It's way over a size 8. I can't imagine. I don't think it's a size 9, but it's really big. And the big money challenge is still in effect. I think it's at $25K. You guys are interested in that. Any academics want to try to make some money, improve the globe, please let me know. Or you can email Kathy Dunson directly. And her email address is perelandra77@gmail.com. That's perelandra77@gmail.com. One of our guests tonight, DITRH, is doing a billboard that's going up near the conference center. The GoFundMe is called A Stranger's Guide to FE Billboard, and I'm sure he'll try to plug this while we're talking to him tonight. It's going to be going up September, October, November. It's going to be a printed billboard, not a digital one like the one I was posing next to in Oregon. We can send people to stand under it with FE signs when we're there for the conference. Next big event before the conference in Raleigh is going to be Rob Skiba and Amber Plaster at takeontheworld17.com. That's September 15th and 17th in Cleveland, Ohio. If you look at that site and you still don't get enough information from it, you can contact one of the organizers directly. His name's Chris Bailey, and his phone number is 440-668-6373. And I believe that's all the announcements we have for tonight. So let's get to hopefully not any long-winded intros from me. When it comes to our guests, one of them you guys know pretty well because he's been on the show several times, is DITRH. That's his YouTube channel. And whether or not we're allowed to actually say his name on the show, I'm not sure. And the other one is going to be Mike Helmick, unless I pronounced that wrong. And we're going to be talking about the eclipse. And we're going to be talking at least during the first segment and the second segment. And if things go well, depending on how things go, we'll probably open up the phone lines at the top of the hour. And if you guys want to call in with any eclipse questions, because as you know, the eclipse happened last week. I was in the blackout zone. These two guys were breaking it down with some wonderful videos. And I think there's a lot of insightful things that can be gleaned from the eclipse that just happened. So without further ado, let's do it one by one. DITRH, are you there?
I'm here, Mark. Good evening.
Hey.
So I have a question. Did the eclipse really happen?
Well, it depends who you talk to. Did it happen the way mainstream said it happened, or did it happen at all? I was there. I was there. I was there in the blackout zone. I was at Ground Zero in Salem, Oregon, where supposedly there was going to be 1 million people. And there was hardly anybody because everybody got smart, and then they spread out all over the 70-mile wide swath of blackout.
Was there as many people as the media was hyping, or were they trying to scare people away, saying, don't go, you're going to be locked in traffic jams?
You know, that's an excellent question. Well, in fact, let's do this before we get into it too much. Mike, are you there? And you'll have to unmute your microphone. Are you there?
Here, Mark.
Hey, right on, man. Cool. All right. So, to answer your question, I think a little bit of both, because anyone that followed social media knew that you should probably avoid Salem, Oregon, because the media said don't go to Salem, Oregon. Although, I got to tell you, and you saw some of the pictures I sent you, it was perfect conditions. That part of Oregon was absolutely, blue sky, no haze in the morning. The forest fires to the east were blowing east. There was no obscurement at all. And it was gorgeous. In fact, there was a NASA plane that was flying in big circles above us. And that's where the media was. In fact, we were at Riverfront Park. That's where those pictures were taken. And it could have not asked for finer conditions. And it was gorgeous. It was the closest thing to magic I have ever seen in real life. You know, watching that thing finally hit. And again, for people that are out there that, you know, because I know the whole country saw it or didn't see it. Again, we'll get into this in a minute. But until you saw those last 3%, you really didn't see anything, because that's when the show really started. Because everything up until that, you just couldn't look at the sun. You had to look through your goggles. In the last, 98, 99, and 100%, you could take off the goggles, squint a little bit, and then it was just amazing, just gorgeous. So, do I think it happened? I mean, I was there, so something happened. But did you
see the moon?
No, I didn't. I never saw. And I was up that night, because we camped out we didn't drive down there from Seattle. That we stayed the night before in a little town called Newberg, Oregon, which is where George Fox University is. And I was up pretty late, because the Airbnb that we rented for the team had a hot tub. So I'm just sitting out there drinking in the hot tub, and I'm looking up in the sky, and there's no moon. I waited, and if it did rise in the morning, I know it's supposed to be a new moon, and you're not going to see it. But at the same time, it's like nobody ever noticed the moon. We had to when the crowd started reacting. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No problem. They say that you can't see the new moon because the sun is so bright it blots it out, which is it's an excuse that you can't prove one way or the other. But during the 100%, the total eclipse, it's not the only 70-mile swath of the Earth is dark, and the rest is still shining up. So the Earth shine, which has a much higher albedo than the moon and is 6 times as large, should light up the moon, so you should be able to see it during the total eclipse part. But you couldn't see it with your naked eye, and I'm sure Mike is going to explain to us how there was nothing there in his photo analysis.
And let me intro the Mike thing real quick, which is again from your channel. And forgive me because I don't have it. I'm trying to save bandwidth, so I'm trying to keep as few windows open as possible. Your last name is spelled Helmick?
Yep, that's right, Mark.
Perfect. And I watched a video, probably the same one that David did, and it really caught my eye because you used a quote that I hadn't heard before, and it was very clever. It was a good hook line, which was nothing was causing the eclipse. The eclipse was literally was being caused by nothing. And I'm going, oh, I see what he did there. Because in some senses that you're absolutely right. There was no what you're saying is there was no, again, correct me if I'm wrong here, there was no 3-dimensional object that caused the eclipse like mainstream science would like to say. The moon didn't pass in front of the sun. It was something completely different, something that most of us didn't expect. You want to chime in?
Me?
Yeah. I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead. To kind of break down what you thought was happening when you made that video. What was going on through your head?
Well, I enjoy listening to you, so okay, I was a little mesmerized there.
No, it's okay.
I started tracking the eclipse early that morning. I talked to DITRH, who we're talking to now. Uh-huh. He noticed a lot of chemtrailing. I had cameras set up in Georgia, at Arizona, where I'm at, here in Illinois. Same thing. I didn't even see the sun all day. The cloud cover was crazy. Also in the UK, Morocco, and Spain also had heavy chemtrailing and cloud cover. So, Mark, you were the only one that had the clear view. Of course, NASA was there, so they're not going to cover up their view either, I guess. But I was looking for the Zedic flat Earth black disc everybody talks about, that see-through, glassy-looking thing to come by and kind of cover up the sun for us. That's what I was looking for. Or I was looking for the angles of the moon, simply so I could make a debunking NASA video about how they got the eclipse all wrong. When the first pictures came in to me, because I had people sending me pictures from the Nikon P900, high-quality stuff, I realized we had an issue because after adjusting the light levels, there was nothing there blocking the sun. And I realized right then that all my theories, all my ideas of videos were going down the tubes. And really, it just kind of floored me. And so I waited for more, confirmed. I called someone by the name of Chris Monk. He did an electromagnetic analysis on it through a different type of system machine. He said, Mike, you're right. There's nothing freaking there. And so that's where we're at. And then suddenly when I start posting my photos to Facebook, that's when a lot of other people were coming through and saying, hey, that's what it is. There's nothing there. I couldn't figure this out either because people were doing the same thing I was doing with Facebook and checking things out on their own. And so then it just became a big, crazy discussion like, where'd the moon go?
Yeah. And Mike, did you analyze any of the NASA pictures, or were they too low resolution for you?
The only NASA picture I analyzed was the one where they happened to photobomb the ISS at the right particular moment. By the way, only one other YouTube channel that I know of caught that. Everybody else did not catch that. There was no ISS up there, and I just debunked that. So no, one thing I will say about the NASA photos I did analyze, they were actually eclipse photos. And yes, the moon was missing in the ones I saw from NASA.
I was thinking we should do a fundraiser and try to raise $100 so we can buy NASA a higher quality camera than what they're using. I mean, it's
by the way,
ridiculous, the quality of the images they supplied.
I had almost forgotten until you guys said that, because I was too caught up in the whole that nothing was causing the eclipse, that I forgot about that they had showed that tiny little X and called it the ISS that was flying in front of the sun. I was going, really? That's what you're going to use? It was, in fact, who was that? NASA that released that stupid shot?
Yes, that was NASA. I debunked it immediately. They pasted the pixel differences between the ISS they put in that little square box that we're all familiar with their Apollo missions, and the Earth hanging in the background set in a square box. I debunked it immediately, and Crow 777 came out. He did a full analysis of the whole thing. He debunked that along with some other things.
Got it. Hey, real quick, I've got a message outside of this that says that your mic is a little too hot. Can you turn it down by like 20%, 25%? That's Mike, by the way. You okay?
Okay, sound check. How's that?
That's a little better. We'll find out. You were clipping a little bit, but that's okay.
Mike, just stay back a little bit. When you talk just at a regular volume and back a little bit, it's not the worst as compared to the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, okay. My back's against the wall, and I'm way away from the mic. How's that?
That's actually fine.
Better. That's better.
That's fine.
Not radio quality, but listen.
No. You're gonna be okay. Yeah, you just don't have to lean into it. Your voice carries plenty fine. There's lots of people out there with real soft voices, and I have to crank up the volume. You are not that guy.
Okay,
so
cool.
You're going to be great. Let me clarify here, because what we're talking about is that Mike in his video, and I highly encourage you to go out there and check out his stuff. He's saying that whatever was causing the eclipse was not the moon. That there was no three-dimensional object that we know as the moon that was passing in front of the sun. For all intents and purposes, it looked like the sun was self-eclipsing, that it was shutting down, however it was pulling it off, was shutting down part of its own lighting system, which, from my point of view, doesn't really surprise me, because I've been saying for a long time now that the moon, because it does its own waxing, if it's self-illuminated, it's doing its own waxing and waning crescents and all that other fun stuff. But to us, we've never thought of the sun that way, because the sun has always been the full sun. There's no such thing as a half sun and a quarter sun and all this other crap. It's never, ever happened. Only when finally Eclipse, the first one to hit the United States in full in 100 years, I'm not counting the ones from the 70s, because it just wasn't the same, that now we could actually see it. And people and the camera technology is so much better than it was 30 years ago and 40 years ago, that now we can take the pictures, immediately grab them. I mean, think of the leaps now that we have made. We can take these fantastic high-res pics, bring them into Photoshop, fire them up into social media. People can just start comparing notes, and all this can be done within hours of the event. And what Mike's kind of showing here is that the moon, everything that we know about the moon and the sun is dead wrong. And that the moon, the eclipse, and people were asking me while I was doing the event down there at the blackout, people were asking me, does this hurt? And I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but I want to throw this out there. Does this hurt the flat Earth? And I go, no, absolutely not. As a matter of fact, the numbers spiked because of the eclipse, because we're claiming it as a flat Earth eclipse, not a global eclipse. Agree? Disagree?
100% agree, Mark. And like I told people, this eclipse, we don't know how to put it on any model, whether we're trying to put it on top of a ball, or whether we're trying to put it on azimuthal equidistance, or maybe a Pac-Man map, or maybe something even stranger. This totally had taken us by surprise, and as you know, we live in a strange world.
Nice, I like that. DITRH.
DITRH's good.
Does DITRH work for you, by the way?
DITRH, DITRH.
What was the other one that people call you? Oh, the dyslexic people call you Dearth.
Yeah, that was back from the days of Ball Earth Skeptic.
Oh, nice. Is that what they were calling you back in Ball Earth Skeptic?
Because Dearth? We had Dave Murphy on the show too, so there was two Daves. So, whatever.
Nice. What do you think? Do you think the eclipse helped us?
People say the eclipse proves that we live on a spinning ball, and the only reason they say that is because Bill Nye drilled it into their head without any evidence. And he actually was talking about the shadow on the moon, which is just a whole nother topic. But when you really try to model it out, the eclipse proves that we don't live on a spinning ball with a 93 million mile away sun and a 38,000 mile moon. None of that makes any sense. You can't model the shadows, the size of the shadows. The motions are very questionable. But on a flat Earth, they model perfectly. The motions, the sizes work perfectly with many different ways of looking at it. We're not 100% sure how it works, but it models several ways perfectly.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Oh yeah, and on a side note, I as if Bill Nye's credibility could not get any lower. You saw the latest headline from just this week, and as soon as I saw it, I just smiled because it's like, oh yeah, he's a man of science, all right. But the money has nothing to do with it. What was
this headline?
Oh my God! Well, ever since he got his new show, the Bill Nye Saves the World, which I guarantee is not going to be picked up for a second season, he's gotten a little more ego, a little more confidence, and he decided to sue Disney for back pay for the Science Guy episodes to the tune of $9 million. And I was like, what? Are you kidding? I don't know what lawyer he talked to, but the lawyer's like,
that's not a real lawsuit. It's part of his payday for selling out like he did in that embarrassment of a show and the disgrace to air to the children of this world.
Oh, you caught the episode where the sexy song?
Oh my God.
I know. I'm thinking as I'm watching that, I was going, he can't actually know what she's singing, right? All he knows, it's like, okay, cue singing act, and then you walk off stage. You don't actually know what she's singing, right? I was giving him the benefit of the doubt there. But either way, the fact that he actually decided to go on a show called Bill Nye Saves the World was beyond ludicrous. But yeah, he's suing him for $9 million. I know it's a fake lawsuit, and they'll settle out of court. But still, $9 million. That's ridiculous. Couple questions about because we got like 5 minutes before our first break, snuck up on us. I wanted to run this by both of you, which was before the eclipse, there were certain aspects of it, because people were asking me while they were down there, it's like, why do you think the flat Earth can lay claim to the eclipse more than the globalists? And I said, well, okay, the first one I would look at would be, I don't know if either of you, I think DITRH, you caught this one, was the Washington Post article, the video article where they came out and said, because the question came to the Washington Post, Dear Science, why is the eclipse moving from west to east? And they brought out the best nerds they could find, including a guy that was working out at NASA. And they went to NASA. I can't remember which outfit it was. I can't remember which location off the top of my head. But they asked, and nobody could give a straight answer. And that drove me insane, because at one point he was when they finally got to the NASA guy, he's going, well, it's because the moon is moving twice as fast as the Earth is rotating. And they actually, and I thought, okay, that's a figure of speech. He doesn't actually mean that, or maybe he means physical velocity versus Earth velocity. But when they put the graphic up on screen where the Earth was rotating and the moon was rotating around the Earth, it was the moon was screaming around the Earth. I mean, literally twice as fast as the Earth is spinning. And I had to call him out on it. I had to chop it up and put a graphic on it and say, look, the graphic you're putting up on screen is absolutely wrong. The Earth spins 28 times before the moon gets around it, and you're doing it. You're going the opposite direction. You're saying the Earth only does half a revolution. So did either of you catch that when before the eclipse happened?
Yeah, absolutely. They showed it on a non-spinning Earth, an Earth that's spinning to a moon that's traveling too fast.
Yeah.
But I'll argue on the side of the heliocentrists that if you could use a 93 million mile away sun with a 238,000 mile away moon, and it could cast a defined smaller shadow on the Earth, that and the motions are the way they say they are, it could make a shadow go from west to east. But simpler, a flat Earth with a sun outrunning the moon by 50 minutes a day, as it overtakes the moon, will make the shadow go in the opposite direction. I mean, if you just hold your fist out and get a flashlight and bring it with the one hand over your fist, you'll see that the shadow starts and then crosses back on the opposite way that the light is going. So that can happen. It's convoluted in the heliocentric model. On the flat Earth model, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I agree with DITRH on that. I modeled the whole thing to scale. First of all, the sun being 93 million miles away cannot cast a shadow on Earth. This is why NASA came out and said, hey, we got to make the sun bigger. Why? Because they need more surface area for what they call photons nobody's ever seen. Simply because the sun, from our perspective, at 93 million miles away, is actually a little tiny golf ball sized thing in the sky. And so at that perspective, that's where the light photons are going to come from. And they would simply be too spread out because you need the photons to leave a shadow, because the shadow's absence of photons having no mass in itself. But for the west-east shadow, the moon only has a 2-degree space to move across the Earth. And it's just like DITRH explained, it's just a light, just the way the light moves at that speed. It's kind of like standing on Earth and taking a laser, pointing at the moon and moving across the moon. You just cover a few thousand miles in just a matter of half a second. Mm-hmm. And that's sort of like what they're explaining the west-east shadow, how it works. Now, I heard NASA's explanation answer the question, and he just totally screwed it up. He doesn't even know his own model. Because he was using the moon velocity. It's really not the moon velocity, it's just size, distance, and the distance that it has to make the shadow and the way light works.
Yeah. But the thing that bothered me, and we're going to break here, just so you guys know, in about a minute. And when we do, then you got 3 minutes to do whatever you want. We'll come back. But what got me, to your point, Mike, was that they committed to it. This wasn't like a live interview where they did, where they were rushed for time. They actually built the graphic out to explain his point. Where the moon is just screaming around it. I'm going, how are you getting away with this? How are you getting away with this? And of course, the graphic, which you probably already saw, the sun was, of course, wasn't anything to scale, but the sun was really big close to the moon. That way they could get away with showing the focused, the focused shadow. We'll talk about that a little bit when we come back from the break, because I've got a couple questions about the 70-mile shadow. We'll come back with Mike Helmick and DITRH. Stay tuned. Three minutes.
You're listening to the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
No hate, no hype, no fear.
Welcome back to Strange World, where the truth is often stranger than fiction. Tonight we're talking about the eclipse. We've got Mike Helmick and DITRH, otherwise known as DITRH, otherwise known as Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. And for the people that are on hold right now, we're not going to take calls during this segment, just so you know, but you could feel free to listen in, or if you want to listen in only, you can call 641-793-7117. But we will try to take calls at the top of the hour, just to see if you have eclipse questions. So where we left off was this, and I want to run this by both of you, because I thought that was very curious. The thing that I noticed out of all the pre-eclipse stuff going in was the blackout path, which was extremely narrow. And to the point where, because I remember I was asked, it's like, well, why would you think it's a flat Earth eclipse, not a global eclipse? I'm going, okay, aside from all the other crap we've talked about, and I do want to get into what the average person, and I'll use Mike for this, how the average person can actually grab a Photoshop image, or an image, and pull it into Photoshop and crank up the levels and see what you're seeing. But before that, I want to talk about the blackout path, which is that the blackout path is only 70 miles wide. Show me where in real life, remember, because the average person is going to go for the path of least resistance here, where you can take an object like the moon, which is 2,100 miles wide, give or take, and shrink the shadow down to 70 miles. That's a 97% decrease in relative size. We've all seen, we all know shadows every day. We've all walked in bright sunlight and fading sunlight. We've seen planes fly over the sky and they leave full-size patterns below. We've all flown in planes to where you can, if you're lucky on a good clear day, you can actually see the shadow of your plane on the ground as it's, leaving or coming in for a landing. You can see this. So the question to either one of you is, can you think of a circumstance or a light condition that I just don't know about yet where you can get that sort of reduction in shadow size? Anybody?
Well, I modeled the shadow, Mark. If for all your listeners out there, if you'll go download the Epic Discover, type Google Epic Discover Eclipse. NASA also modeled it. That Earth you're looking at there, that's actually a 3D model. It's not a picture from space. In fact, we contacted Rob Simmons. He told us there's no strip data and gave us the FTP servers for Russia, China, and the US. And so if you see their shadow on their Epic Discover, or the same with Japan's MRI-8, it's a small, black, ugly, incomplete shadow. And the reason why it's incomplete and ugly, because it's a non-shadow. It's a foreshadow in a 3D modeling program. In other words, it's an unnatural shadow that we would not experience in real life. When I modeled it, I had to cheat at 93 million miles just to get that same type of shadow NASA and Japan produced. And so modeling software, that's kind of what it looks like, simply because the light is not there from that distance. Now, what NASA showed is this wide sweeping secondary shadow, and I don't know if this is the penumbra or umbra, I forget which one, but sweeping shadow that covered all the way up Canada, Alaska, and did a sweep over. That would be absolutely impossible on a heliocentric model.
So, Mike, if I hear you correctly, basically what you just said is the images are fake.
Yeah, more or less. They're put together by a computer, MyDol. They take radar data and set it up there, but I don't want to get into all that. Yeah, they're all fake. The Titan, the MRI-8, and the Epic Discover are. I was
just helping out the people that might have gotten lost on that.
Oh no, I knew where he was going as well. You're saying that basically the shadows we were seeing were mathematical modeling. And that's right. why they show up the way they do. It's our interpretation. It's the software's interpretation of what it's trying to describe as a shadow.
Right. The software is trying, because evidently NASA set this light source way back in distance, because that's the kind of unnatural light shadow a modeling software will make, because the software engine doesn't know how to interpret light at that distance. And that's what they showed, an incomplete shadow. If you examine the Epic Discover eclipse of the Earth, for example, you'll see that it's not a complete shadow, and there's color data inside the shadow that's bright. So the modeling software can't really do its job at that distance. And I encountered the same thing when I modeled it. And so did Chris Monk from the Sun and Moon Group. He modeled the same thing. We contacted each other, and he said, you know what, Mike, if we made a natural light the size of the sun, it won't leave any shadow. And that's true. I made a natural light the size of the sun, and if you can cranking it up really doesn't matter. It's the surface area of the sun shooting the light photons, which totally bypass the moon and Earth. The sun at that distance can leave no shadow.
Wow. That's amazing. And is it also true, because I've tried to watch as many of the eclipse videos as I could. I mirrored one in particular, and I can't remember what the guy's name was, where he was saying, isn't it convenient that all, for the rest of the models that NASA uses in mainstream science, all the rays from the sun, and I'm sure you have a different word for it, come in at a straight line and, creates normal sized shadows. But for this, conveniently enough, when they hit the moon, and I love the graphics because everyone just believes the graphics that they see. All of a sudden you get that cone shaped the shadow that gets produced by the moon. It's like, oh yeah, that's how it gets shrunk down. I'm going, come on, we would have seen something like this. Unless you guys can tell me I'm wrong here, have either of you seen anything even remotely close to this in the natural world, the world that we live in now, with natural light source, artificial light source, where it creates a weird effect where all of a sudden the object behind, let's say it's a car headlight, way down in the distance, but it's on high beams, and there's a small object, and then that small object in front, the shadow just turns into just a dot. Has anyone even seen something remotely like that? Anyone?
I think I saw something like that on the space station.
Maybe in Cinderella.
I think they show that on the space station too.
Nice. Yeah. It was absolutely, when I saw that. And I'm sorry. Let me get back to this. The reason why that caught my eye was I said, look, you want the easiest explanation from our standpoint? It's like, look, we only think, I'm not going to quote you guys necessarily, but I think that the sun and the moon are only 30 to 50 miles wide to begin with. So casting a 70-mile wide blackout shadow, that works pretty good. I'd say that's pretty accurate from where we're standing. Works a heck of a lot better than saying that it's a 2,100-mile object that just happens to be 400 times closer than an object that's 93 million miles away, and they fit perfectly in front of each other. Let me tell you this. When I was there in the blackout zone, when it hit, I had now granted, I'm looking at it with a complete bias now, but when I was looking at it, first thing that came to my mind was like, it's just a light show. That's all I'm looking at here. This isn't some giant, magnificent celestial event. It's just a light show. That's all it is. In fact, I dare say that if our planetariums were better at what they're doing now, because right now the planetariums are limited to the light sources. They can do the moon, they can do comets, they can do the stars and stuff like that, and of course Laser Floyd and Laser Zeppelin on weekends. But they can't do the sun. It's just too bright. Now, if they updated it to modern technology and used like OLED monitors, they could probably put a pretty bright light source up there if they wanted to and simulate an eclipse. But up until now, they haven't been able to. So when I was looking at this, I was going, this is one of the few things that they can't do realistically inside a planetarium. And that kind of struck me. But anyway, aside from that, I've got a couple more questions. And the first one's going to be for Mike, which is, okay, Mike, if the average person out there who's still maybe not getting this, because I know it's a radio show and we're trying to describe something that's very, very visual. If the average person on the street, let's say it's me, right, wanted to see, kind of discover what you were seeing, what would be the easiest way? To just go online, look up eclipse photos? Is there a place to download decent eclipse photos? And then pull it into what software and look for what? What would you do if you had like a relative? I'm your cousin. Say, I want to see this thing. What will I have to do? What would you tell me?
Well, go grab yourself an eclipse picture. Make sure it's fancy. But what I did was I took the eclipse pictures, and in Photoshop you can use the adjustments, the levels adjustment layer, or you can use HDRI toning, or you can do like what Rob Skiba likes to do and set the brightness levels or whatever, the gamma or whatever. But what I was looking for is I was looking at the sun. I wasn't looking at the moon. I was looking at the sun. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to see where the light paths of the sun were going, because if there's an object in front of another object, it will block that object's light source. And that's what I was looking at. So when I went to look for the moon and to see where the light of the sun was going, the sun acted as if there was nothing in front of it. You could see the sunlight in its radial pattern unhindered, unblocked by any rock that's supposedly hovering above us in space.
So there should have been a black. So if there was a three-dimensional object in front of it, you would have seen a very clear, concise zone where the light just was not going through no matter what. And that was not the case.
Right.
Or even something flat, anything in front of it. Even if there was a flat, opaque disc or whatever in front of it, that would that's what Mike's saying. There was nothing in front of it. Doesn't even have to be 3D, right, Mike?
Yeah, absolutely. Like car lights. If you stand in front of one of the headlights, then you only see one of the other headlights because somebody's standing in front of the other one. I mean, something was blocking, nothing was blocking the light path of the sun. What was really interesting, though, as the eclipse was occurring and the sun started to look like Miss Pac-Man, the light path followed the shape of the sun, but there was no object blocking the light path. Best I can describe it.
Wow. So your description in the beginning was true. So if you had to, and people can see this is not hard. I think where people were having some trouble was they were trying, because again, if you don't play in Photoshop or if you don't play with light sources and tweak the levels of any photographs, you're probably not going to understand what we're talking about here. But what Mike's basically saying is that something other than the moon was shutting down the light from the sun. And from what you were just saying, DITRH, was that it wasn't even a two-dimensional object. That was, even though you did that cool little thing where you used that the paper towel tube and the flashlight and what was that lid from? I thought it was like a Snapple cap.
It was about the size of a Snapple cap. It was another little jar cap. That's all. But I was thinking I should have used like a golf ball or something, but I didn't have one.
Oh yeah, golf ball would have been good too.
It would have done the same thing though.
Yeah. Yeah, and so what you did was you shone the light through the cardboard tube on, and then put the lid in front of it to simulate the eclipse, and it's actually very effective considering the whole thing cost probably 50 cents, if that.
It cost nothing.
It was trash, basically.
It was trash.
But go ahead.
But the idea that we can't see, with a telescope, a P900, long exposures, no one has ever seen the moon approach or exit the face of the sun before and after an eclipse. And, right. This time was a time when technology has really stepped up, where everyone has a camera. We have super zoom cameras. We have all sorts of stuff. And it was probably one of the most photographed eclipses ever. And again, nothing was seen. And then people like Mike and Chris from the Sun and Moon group analyze these pictures in programs like Photoshop, adjusting the levels, showing that there's nothing there blocking the light. So my idea came that, I look at the sun and it sure looks like it's coming from, it's actually not a physical thing, and it's being projected, for lack of a better word, into our world. And I got this idea a long time ago by listening to Professor Eric Dollard in that famous scene where he's sitting in a car and he's saying the sun is a transformer in a fourth dimension, and it is leaving a three-dimensional slice in our reality. Right. And so I said, all right, let me try this. I get a bright flashlight and a semi-transparent piece of paper. I had a paper towel, and I recreated the eclipse. And if you look at it, if I had done that with a blue, a light blue sky looking sheet, I probably could have passed it off for the sun and the eclipse if the light was bright enough to wash out the blue. And that's kind of what we see. And now if you look at the sun most days, especially if there's a little bit of I'll say clouds in the sky, but everybody knows what I'm talking about. You can look at it. It looks like it's being beamed in there. It is like a magnifying glass focuses a point of light onto the earth. But imagine if you can focus that point of light into a spot in the air.
Oh, good.
Okay.
I never thought of that. Yeah, you're right. When you use a magnifying glass, that beam that's on the ground is extremely bright.
And then my second video, where some guy in Michigan showed what appears to be another eclipsing planet or sun right next to the sun. And, we can rule it out as a lens flare because as you move the camera around, it doesn't move. It's locked in position to the sun. And, Crow 777, who I trust his opinion, he's saying that cannot be a lens flare because of the way it's locked and doesn't know what it is. And then I did a little research and I found that there's been hundreds, thousands of pictures like that, but not during an eclipse. And the body next to the sun that was locked there was a full circle. So then I'm thinking, okay, it's a circle during the eclipse and it follows the eclipse. Maybe it has to do with what we're seeing. And then I thought about it. if you projected a movie onto a hanging sheet and you're watching the sheet from the far side, so it's a rear projection screen. If you look to the side, where let's say the movie's only filling up, 2/3 of the sheet, you can look through the sheet and actually see the projecting lens, which is smaller, but it has the whole image in there. Right. And so then I did the same thing, but I went from a toilet paper sky from a paper towel sky to a toilet paper sky, which was the only thinner piece of paper I had in the house. And I recreated the exact same thing when I was making the Eclipse. You had the Eclipse in the sky on the toilet paper, and then if you look through it, you can see the smaller one, which was the projector. So that is just something that I'm not saying that's what's happening, but it's observable, testable, and repeatable, and I really can't find anything else that can explain it any better. If anybody wants to see it, doesn't know where my channel, DITRH is the YouTube channel, and there's 2 videos on there, and within the first 10 videos, you'll find it.
Nice. Yeah, good point. You mentioned Eric Dollard, and that was when I was first starting to get into the whole flat Earth thing. I was, delving around in different little corners, and if anybody knows the video, the one video, of course, that gave me chills was, that one where you're sitting in the car, and it was something about it wasn't just conviction. It's obvious what's happening up there. He saw it. He's like, no, it's a transformer. The light's coming in from some other dimension. He goes, there's no fusion on the sun. It's well known. The way he was breaking it down. Yeah, of course he didn't have all the answers, but it was fascinating the path he was going down. And it's like, okay, then what is the sun exactly? And I didn't really focus on it too much because I was working on other things. But now I'm going to be revisiting it because, he's he's still alive as far as I know.
Yeah, he's wrong on some other things. He still is speaking from a heliocentric point of view.
Right.
But he got the stuff that he was challenging. He's right to challenge it, and then other stuff. I think he mentions planets in there. It's just stuff that he hasn't looked into, and I'm sure probably by now he has and realizes. That it's all lies.
Well, yeah, if you can make the sun, if you can get your head around it and realize that it's much, 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 99.999% smaller than what they say it is, instead of hundreds of thousands of miles wide, it's only 50 miles wide, then that, you have a chance, especially with that guy's brain, you have a chance of figuring out the subtle nuances of it. And so I encourage anyone, you want to look up some really interesting stuff, look up Eric Dollard, Dollard, where of course, it looks like he's just talking, somebody's interviewing him from a car. It's like, oh, they found him, pulled off to the side of the road. No, I thought he was actually, that was like one of his lounge chairs was that car.
Yeah, the Eric Dollard, I haven't checked him out, and I'm kind of curious or interested that you guys said what he said about the sun being in some fourth dimension. We've been tracking the sun and come to the same conclusion. The sun's not actually in our spatial space. In other words, you and I couldn't take a rocket ship and go visit it.
No.
I did. I had some pictures of clouds where the top of the clouds, where the sun's hitting the clouds and leaving shadows. Well, those shadows leave angles, of course. And so I was curious, how far away would you have to move a light source to make those angle of shadows? And so I modeled it all to scale. It's 1 mile, because the farther you go, these shadows start going, of course, into 90-degree angles. And so it was 1 mile that those shadows matched that light source, supposedly from the sun. Now, the sun did look like it was right up in the sky, but it looked like it was way farther than 1 mile. But whatever that light source was that's being projected in was no further than 1 mile. And so we've known this now for a while.
So, Mike, you're talking about the shot from an airplane that was probably 5 miles up, and you could see the clouds and the shadows on the ground, and you did the angling from there, correct?
Right. I didn't want to do like the rays through the clouds because we run into problems with refractions and stuff. Yeah, I did that.
So I'm under the belief, and so are some other people, through observations, that the sun's position where we see it is relative to where we are. So if the sun, let's say the sun was 3 miles in the air and you went up in an airplane 3 miles at noon, well, the sun is now going to be 6 miles up in the air from the ground point of view, 3 miles over the plane. As you move, the sun moves. If you look at corpuscular rays when they're coming through clouds and look at them, that sun is, you know, right above the clouds. Maybe it's twice the height of the clouds. But then again, you send a weather balloon up 120,000 feet, and the sun is way above the weather balloon.
That's correct, David. Both the sun and moon are
relative to the position. So that sun that's above the balloon, there's no way it can make those corpuscular rays that we see from the ground. So my point is, when you're looking and trying to triangulate the position of the sun from a third position, it's okay, but it's really not going to get you the true answer, because you're getting, you said you triangulated it at a mile. Well, you know what? That might be where it is from somebody standing where that shadow is on the ground, but from your position, it sure looked a lot higher, and it was a lot higher. But that wasn't the higher position that was creating those clouds. Does that make sense?
Makes 100% sense.
Creating those shadows.
Makes absolute sense, David. In fact, what we have found is that both the moon and the sun are only wherever you're standing on Earth. And we're working on a theory like this because Earth has a very strong positive and negative field. NASA, this is what NASA's been tracking for a long time. But I believe wherever you're standing at, you're going to see a different perspective of the sun and the moon than somebody maybe standing a block away or a mile away. They're going to see something totally different. And one idea we have is wherever we're standing at, or whatever the observer is at in Earth's magnetic field, it orientates the sun to their perspective view. That's one idea we have, because with magnetics, it can work that way.
Interesting. David, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. You know, every day my mind is blown with this stuff. And the more you look into it, the more you find out, and the more you find out that you don't know. But the one thing you realize more every day is that the heliocentric model and every single thing about it is such utter nonsense that it's bewildering that you ever believed it in the past once you see through its nonsense.
Well, at the same time, don't be so hard on yourself. It's like, yeah, of course, everybody fell for it, but it wasn't what I've been trying to tell people recently is like, look, it wasn't that you fell for it. You didn't have a chance. It was that this particular myth has been put out there for so many generations. It was your father and his father and his father's father going back literally at minimum 500 years. You know, it could have been going back further depending on who you talk to. But if you go back minimum 500 years, you were born into it. And the line, which I'm still going to steal every chance I get, which is we believe that the world that is presented to us. No, especially since we're children. As children, we do not believe in lies. And so the movie The Village, M. Night Shyamalan, where they just took a whole bunch of kids and put them in the woods and built a town and said, yeah, by the way, you live in the mid-1800s. Why wouldn't they believe they're in the 1800s? Why their parents shouldn't lie to them? If they're taught that most people don't lie, you're going to believe whatever is told you. If you're told that the globe is it, and your father was told it was a globe, and his father, going all the way back to, before the globe factories, that's how it was going to work. That's how it was going to pan out. So we got about 45 seconds to the break. Are you guys up for taking a few calls when we come back from the break?
I'm okay with it.
Okay.
I love taking calls.
Cool. We're just going to field whatever. If there's any trolls, I'll shoot them down from here. But
all right.
Chances are we're not going to.
I love tough questions. Anybody that has a tough question, but ask it as a question. Don't call us idiots. Ask your proof of the globe as a question. And during the break, feel free to subscribe to the flatearthpodcast.com.
Nice. And while you're at it, look at Mike Helmick's channel on YouTube, which is his name, Mike Helmick. And the first call we're going to pick up when we come back, unless he hangs up, is going to be the Tacoma, Washington. I think it's 253 area code. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. 3 minutes. We'll be back.
This is the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
We are TFR.
Truth Frequency Radio.
Major Kong. Major Kong. Primary target the ICBM complex at Laputa. Switch all receiver circuits to CRM discriminators. What's cooking on the fretboard? Nothing. All right, tell you what you're gonna do, old buddy. You're gonna give Elmo and Charlie a flash, man. Bump everything up to condition written. Stand by the floor on the base. Major Kong. Major Kong. Hey, what about Major Kong?
Clear and plain and coming through fine.
What about
It's great to be fine.
What about Major
What's happened? You see the string in my leg scarring.
What about Major
I never told you.
Hey, what about Major Kong?
Welcome back to Strange World, part 3 of 4. We are going to take callers because we have special guests. And if you want to direct the questions to them, you can. If you want to direct them to me, that's fine too. Number to call in is 720-897-6111 or the backup number, which is 213-233-3998. And we get a little bit of a buffet of calls that are coming in right now. Well, little trivia for you guys real quick. That song, which was playing audio clips from Dr. Strangelove, Peter Sellers was actually slated to be Major Kong, but he got injured, and so he had to play different roles. He played 3 roles in that movie. Trivia question. I'm not going to give it away for you guys. Anyway, so Mike and DITRH, you guys ready?
Fire away.
Ready to go.
They're gonna be fine. I can't remember the last time I got a troll call. So
that's all right. I know how to do it, trolls. I got plenty of them.
No, it's not. Trolls on the phone aren't as bad. You know, in comments they can just say things and not answer things. But you know, trolls ask the best questions sometimes.
Right. Good point. And before I pick up this first call, the first call is going to be from Tacoma, Washington. Then I think I'm going to pick up North Carolina. First, quick quote from the Peanut Gallery, because I haven't mentioned him much this evening. The quote goes something like this: "See now the power of truth. The same experiment, which at first glance seemed to show one thing, when more carefully examined, assures us of the contrary." And who said that? Galileo Galilei. All right. We're going to pick up Tacoma, Washington. Here we go. Tacoma, Washington, you're on with Strange World live right now. What's going on?
Good evening, Mr. Mark Sargent. This is Daryl D. Marble.
Holy smokes! It's D. Marble.
Daryl.
Hey, Daryl.
I hope Payne is still
Daryl.
Hey, it's Mike. How's it going?
It's the best looking man in flat Earth.
It is.
I know.
Mark, come on, cut that out.
Seriously, I'm gonna get a sound effect for when you call in. The opening of when Andre 3000 sings "Hey Ya" when the crowd is screaming. That's the sound effect I'm going to use.
Mark, I was gonna comment when you were on the Sun Moon group that you have beautiful eyes, but I didn't want it to come off wrong.
that comes off wrong.
All right.
I thank you for that. Anyway, what's going on, D. Marble? What's happening?
Well, I didn't have anything too serious. Just wanted to drop in, say hi to everyone. Mike, I appreciate you. What you've been doing lately, man. Just listening to the show, you guys got some pretty interesting concepts here about the sun being a projection and all, man. I hadn't even gotten into that part yet. Gosh. But Mark, the main thing I was calling for, just got word. Drum roll, please. We have another meetup.
I'm sorry, you're going to do another meetup?
Yeah, we're going to be in Burien next Thursday.
Okay, send me the email on that. So go ahead, tell me where it's going to be just for the listeners.
All right, we are going to be at the Point in Burien. Address is 435 Southwest 152nd Street, Burien, Washington, 98166.
Right on.
We'll be We have the venue for from 7 to 11, 7 to close, and it's about room for about 70 people or so. We already have food being, it's on order. We have drink tickets. It's been set up by my buddy Tyson Bushnell, and so we got everything locked in. Plenty of time to get the word out on this one.
Next, so it's a week from. So it's not in 2 days. It's a week from Thursday.
That'll be September 7th. Sir.
September 7th. That'll work out actually pretty good because there's a shot. I've got my tickets booked to go down to Houston, provided it doesn't actually slip into the sea on September 10th. So that'd be perfect. Yeah, count on me. I will be there, man.
Awesome.
Right on.
Fantastic.
Cool. And send me all the information on it, and I will do a trailer for you in the next day or so. Just give me the basic info. I've already got the template made up, and I'll do that for you. But that sounds great. Sounds like a good time.
Hey, Daryl.
Well, yes, sir.
You need to go to my channel and watch Why Don't We See the Moon During the Solar Eclipse and Our Projected Sun Over a Flat Earth.
I'm on it. I'm on that right now.
And when you're done with this channel, Daryl, head to mine.
Absolutely. I'm on it. I'm probably going to spend the rest of the evening checking you guys out because you guys both do great work, man. So, that's all I got. Just wanted to, put that out there. Gonna have a meetup, get with some good people. Gentlemen, please continue the show. Lots of interesting information here. I'll continue listening. Mark, I just now got the number for, to call in and listen because I only had the number in my phone to call in and talk. And really my thing.
Yeah, if you want to call, that was it. I kind of knew that too because it was going to call I wonder if that's Daryl. I bet you just calling in and listening. So if you guys want to call in and just listen, the phone number is 641-793-7117, and then I won't pick you up and put you on the spot and say, all right, why are you calling? What sort of question? Do I care? So, and by the way, everybody check out D Marble's channel, D space Marble. Growing very, very quickly, and definitely the best looking man in flat Earth, and makes me literally look like Shrek from Disney. So
that's
awesome.
A huge honor coming from the father of flat Earth, and I'll take that as a huge compliment, sir.
Hey, you know what? Gandalf doesn't get a lot of chicks. I'm pretty sure of it.
Oh, please. The ladies love magic, man. But
good point. You know what? I'll take that. All right, man. Hey, you have a good rest of your night, and hopefully the listen line will work for you.
Excellent. I'll hop back on that. You guys have a good night. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right. See you, man. Stay flat.
Yep.
Bye. All right. Hopefully he'll remember to send me all the info for the meetup. That's the second Seattle meetup. That's going to be in Burien next Thursday. So a week from Thursday. Not in 2 days. It'll be a week from Thursday. So I will definitely go to that. All right. Let's pick up North Carolina, Greensboro. If the screen will stop moving around, and then I'll try to pick up New York, and then I'll go up to maybe Florida after that. So let's go North Carolina. North Carolina, you're on with Strange World with DITRH and Mike Helmick talking about the eclipse. What's going on?
Hi, guys. Greetings from Greensboro, North Carolina. How you guys doing tonight?
Good.
I've got a question for Mike.
All ears, North Carolina.
Hey, buddy. I ate that video of yours and DITRH's. Those videos, the recent videos on the eclipse are excellent stuff. But I do have a trolling kind of question for you. It's not too serious, but I'm just wondering if you have modeled that situation where you've got the pattern of light. Have you modeled that where you've occulted a light with an object? And have you modeled how the light pattern, I guess, you can't see it changing if you've occulted it with something physical?
Are you talking the supposed Westie shadow, or are you just talking about the eclipse in general, what we did see?
The eclipse itself, where the alleged moon occulting object does not interfere with the light pattern from the sun. Have you taken a light source on your own and modeled where you've occulted it with something, and have also seen in Photoshop where the light pattern doesn't change?
Well, in modeling software, you can't really reproduce the atmospheric effects. In fact, to produce a lens flare, we have to add even that. And so we're losing a lot of light dynamics that we see in real life. What I can tell you is that the moon was totally invisible to us those days anyways on Earth, because nobody sees the moons those days. And what people have believed is, well, it's invisible anyways. But my thing to them is that just because you can't see the moon doesn't change the fact that the heliocentric team tells us that the moon is an orbiting rock above us wobbling around Earth. And so a rock is going to block the light path of the sun regardless. So it doesn't matter how transparent an object is. If it is a solid, it will block the path of the light that it's in front of. And so I got a lot of that on my channel where people saying, well, the moon's invisible anyways, you wouldn't see the moon. Well, that's kind of akin to saying like, my bed, I can't see my bed if I shut off my bedroom light, but the bed's still going to block light. The bed doesn't change its physical properties. So I hope that answered your question.
Well, not exactly. I'm just curious. You weren't curious enough to let's say turn on a light in your house and move something in front of it and take that photograph and then put that photograph into Photoshop and analyze how the light patterns work.
Well, you can't. First of all, we're talking about a lot of great distances, and when people start setting up paper cups and their basketballs and their golf balls, and they try to do things, to get a perspective of something, it's really not as good as modeling it to scale, because you're going to miss something. And the bottom line, it's just a simple principle. Nothing blocked the light path of the sun. It's just real simple. It's not that hard to understand. The sun acted as if nothing was in front of its rays. And I can't model that. DITRH, he actually modeled that. If you want to model it, then go watch his video, because he actually did it through a cloth and a projection type thing. But if you're talking about a physical object like the heliocentric assumes the moon is, no, you can't model that. It can't be done. If something's blocking the light of something else, it'll block the light.
Well, okay, and I'm not articulating my question well enough for you, and I don't want to take up too much time. I appreciate your time, and nothing surprises me anymore when it comes to this stuff. It wouldn't surprise me at all if it was just a light show, because I'll tell you, no matter which photographs or video footage I've seen online, every different person's perspective of the eclipse is different. And what I keep noticing in the center of the sun, I notice that the eclipse kind of starts at the center of the sun. There's a blackening right in the center that happens, and it's got, to me, has nothing to do with the moon eclipsing the sun when this is happening.
What do you mean that it starts in the center of the sun?
I can see it. I can see a black dots right in the very center of the sun when the eclipse is, when totality is allegedly happening. I think that's more or less it. I think that the blackening or the occulting of the sun actually begins in the center. And I've seen that so many times, and I come away from that thinking, why did we ever think that this had anything to do with the moon?
Interesting.
In that we've never seen the moon, clearly leaves a lot of questions.
What you're explaining can be actually reproduced in a dielectric magnetic field. And I sent Mark here a picture of a magnetic field in the sun. I don't know if we're going to have time to get into that, but that darkening that you see that kind of starts in the center, like the shadowing, and other people notice it too, can be caused by a positive and negative starting to cancel each other out, much like rubbing a ferrocell over the top of a powerful magnet.
Well, it kind of sounds like you're talking science here, which is different and refreshing when it comes to this stuff, huh?
Well, we would start off science, but my gosh, we got to show videos of this stuff and give a visual just so people can kind of grasp their head around it, because electromagnetics and electro universe are fascinating studies. And I encourage everyone, what we're talking about dollar, go in and start researching this stuff, because it'll start to explain a lot of things.
Yeah. Hey,
exactly.
caller.
I mean, I've been a. Go ahead.
Hate to do this to you, but we got a whole bunch of calls backing up. Tell you what, if you have any more questions, email Mike directly. I'm sure his email is easy to find on his YouTube page, and we'll catch you another time. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark. Good night.
All right. Night. See ya. Okay, we're gonna bounce right into Naples, Florida, because he's been waiting a long time. Naples, Florida. Hopefully it's Naples, Florida. You never know what calls. Oh boy, he's might be calling from the road. Can you hear me?
Hey, what's up? It is Naples, Florida. How you guys doing?
What's going on? Make sure you talk loudly into your phone.
Okay, ain't nothing much. Okay, so I'm gonna go in a complete opposite direction of the last caller. Okay. I actually do believe that is the moon eclipsing the sun.
Do you?
During the solar eclipse. Yes, what? I do. Yeah, I am a flat earther. Well, all right. It's going to sound weird.
That's okay.
But
given what the show's about, I'm not going to judge.
Right. Okay, so that darkness we see at night, or the blue sky, I think that's like a sea of something. And it's kind of like the moon is fully submerged into that sea. And that's why we can't see the moon. We could only see when it crosses over the light. Say, for instance, if we're in an airplane and there was a big flashlight in the ocean, we would be able to see that light. And if something swam over that light, that would be pretty much like what the moon is doing during the solar eclipse. I know
where you come from, and I've heheard this theory as well, and it's not a terrible theory, which is we're talking about the waters above and the waters below, and sort of like a Book of Enoch type situation where the moon is going through phases, but it's actually in a fluid situation, and it slips in front of the sun and does its thing, and then slips out of phase and goes on its way. That sort of thing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, but I don't actually believe that the sun is something physical, but the moon probably might be, just because, we could see real clear features on it. Like I was listening to the Globebusters broadcast the other day, and there was a lady who kept saying it's like a mineral, and it had me thinking, like, if there really is a firmament and the moon and the sun are exactly the same size, would it be possible that the moon is an exact cutout of where the sun is now, where that light that the sun is whatever light that's on the opposite side of the firmament or whatever that is.
I got you.
And that moon is like, because they're both almost the same size, I guess.
No, I got you. Let me answer let me answer your moon thing here, and then we're eventually going to move on to another caller. But I want to explain this. When you said, well,
right.
the moon's probably a real thing because you can see such clear features on it, and I'd go in and say,
right.
Okay, go down to Neil deGrasse Tyson's planetarium, otherwise known as the Hayden Planetarium, and look and tell me what you think of the moon there. Because that moon has got some really wonderful features on it. In fact, so clear that if you took somebody from even 100 years ago and brought him into that room, and told him it's like, oh yeah, by the way, we're looking actually outside and that moon's real, he might even believe it. So just because the image is clear, I mean, think about it this way. In fact, we'll even use our technology right now, right? What if you showed somebody from 30 years ago an HD television? Remember when those things first came out? And how it was really clear, and like
right.
pets were like whapping at the screen, and I mean, it was super. I mean, to the point where newsreaders had to like change their makeup because it was that clear. Imagine
right.
what a technology could do that was far advanced than ours.
Right. I'm gonna say, can I say something right quick, real fast?
Yeah.
Say for instance, if that so-called sea wasn't there or whatever it is, like the water above, would the whole sky look like how the moon actually looks? You know, would it be as textured as the moon appears to be? So I don't know, just throwing that out there.
Good stuff.
Something I thought of.
I'm not gonna judge you and say that you're a big weirdo, because look, I wake up with a big bowl of flat Earth every morning, and so I have no right to judge you. So, but hey, you know what? If you end up right and we end up wrong, then I'll buy you a drink on that day. I swear, unless you don't drink.
Hey, I'm gonna hold you to it.
Okay. All right, man. You have a good rest of your night. Okay.
All right, buddy. Thanks. You too.
Bye. All right. Let's
Hey,
jump
hey
right
Mark.
back. Yeah.
Real quick, chiming in, the moon texture. Probably don't have enough time to go into it, but there could be an explanation for that, and that was for me tracking the moon from when it flips its orientation in Australia, the southern hemisphere, and it's flipped back over in the northern hemisphere.
Yeah.
The moon, the surface of the moon acts a whole lot like a normal map. It positions itself according to our observation, so it's not. It's not a solid surface by any means. It acts like the normal map by the shadows are all the same size and the way it takes light. Now, I'm not saying the moon's a hologram or was created by some alien technology, with a bunch of technology, but that's exactly what the moon looks like. And we're looking into it more.
Yeah, and I'll real quick before we pick up this caller, before we go to the break, because we're running out of time in this segment, which is that's what we do in software. What you were saying is the moon changes based on your perspective. That's what we've been doing in software for the last 15 years, which is it's the objects that you're looking up in the sky are phased, they're instanced based on you, based on your location. And your friend could be sitting, a mile away from you, and he's going to, see a perfectly relative perspective in relation to you. So, yeah.
It's kind of like the tree in the video game that always faces you. Absolutely.
Oh, that always drove me nuts. But yeah, you're right. The tree. That's good. That's good. Yeah, we try not to do that as much nowadays because it's obvious a giveaway. But yeah, it's a good one. All right, let's pick up. I think this is California. Let's grab him. I think it's Eureka, California. Eureka, California. You're probably going to be the last call before this break, and then we'll do one more segment after this. Are you there?
Yes. Hi. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. What's going on?
How you guys doing?
I can't complain. It's Tuesday.
Cool.
We're talking eclipse. What do you got? You got something on the eclipse, or you got something else?
Oh, by the way, I saw the eclipse in Oregon. Went up and saw the total eclipse.
What'd you think?
Yeah. Well, when I was watching it, I remember thinking at one point that the thing blocking it looked oblong. And I thought, that doesn't even look like a sphere. It looks oblong. There was one little section where I remember saying that to myself. And then, so I went through various theories, because I didn't see the moon approach it. I didn't see the moon leave. And I know that the moon is see-through and you can see stars through it. Yeah. So then, of course, as soon as I got back, I thought, well, it could be Rahu and it could be a black sun. But then I came across these Photoshop pictures like you guys have been talking about. Mm-hmm. And so just took a couple of pictures and I verified it with some of my own pictures, and I realized, yep, this checks out. There was no moon at all. So I sent multiple friends. There's a jazz song called "No Moon at All," so to kind of rub it in, I posted this on their Facebook and stuff. But I was wondering, what if the Earth was way bigger than we've been taught, like huge?
Oh yeah, the super sphere theory.
Yeah, the supersphere. Like, what if there's photographic evidence somewhere of a huge sphere?
Well, if there
Just wonder what you guys thought about that.
It's very possible, and that has been thrown out there. And you guys can chime in if you want. We still got 3 minutes to the break. That's been put out there almost since month one, which is normally I just say, look, you're still holding on to the sphere idea that's been burned into your head since you were 6 years old. You're just trying to hold on to it. And it's like, well, what if we're on a much, much bigger sphere and this is just a really, really flat part on that sphere? Like we're living, basically our entire civilization rests on Kansas, and that the Earth is just much, much bigger. Yeah, of course it's possible.
That explanation is just grasping at heliocentrism straws.
There you go.
And then if you do that, then you have to take gravity into account. So now you have this giant sphere. The gravity should be way more. and that just throws NASA's calculations of what all of the other things are doing even farther out of whack. So
gotta let go, man.
Okay. Yeah, you gotta let go of the ball, man. Let go of the ball.
So hold on one second. I'm a flat earther. I've been studying you guys each and every one of you have watched like tons of each of your videos.
Yeah.
I think you're all really cool. I'm not saying it's a sphere. I'm saying it could be flat, it could be simple shaped. But what if it was way bigger, and so the idea of this ring wall of Antarctica was there to keep us from really investigating further?
Oh, sure. Why not? Absolutely. Well, I mean, if we're talking about the infinite plane, that if it goes out, I have no doubt that there is a huge realm outside of this place. Very, very little doubt. But I do think that we're kind of hemmed in, that we're not going anywhere because for various reasons. One, because I think our civilization is far too dangerous. But yeah. It's not. I don't think it's just a one-off. I don't think there's just one of these either. I love the idea that there's more than one, that there's pockets of these all over the place. Sure.
I'm not talking about a pocket. I'm talking about what if the thing we're on is about 5 to 10 times bigger, and what if it could be flat, simple shaped?
Is
could
there
be a sphere,
water?
But
is there water on the bottom side of it?
That I don't know.
Yeah. It's good that you're thinking about it. Absolutely. And again, not going to shoot down the idea. It's but don't go ahead, David. Go ahead. We got 20 seconds.
No, I didn't say anything.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
I was going to say, what if the answer is right in front of our nose? What if the answer is just right there to be seen? I'm not going to say it because I don't want to get killed or something, but what if the answer is just right there, and yet they have to protect that answer by putting the wall of Antarctica?
Maybe. And with that, I hate to say this, but we're going to our last break. But thank you very much, California.
All right, thanks, guys. You guys are cool.
No hate, no hype, no fear. We are DFR, your protection from deception.
Yeah, you know what? I still don't. Well, the problem with me trying to sing this, because Peanut Gallery keeps asking me, I've got to sing it. I know I promised a guy that I was going to sing a couple of verses of this, is because now I'm using a cover of Joe Jackson stepping out from his album Night and Day. I don't know exactly which verse I come in at.
Mark, I have to call you out on this.
Why?
I believe Peanut Gallery is in your head.
There is no peanut gallery.
There is no peanut gallery. It's all in your head.
Considering I'm a flat earther, yeah, you could be right. It's an alter ego. It's like one of those serial killer movies. Why do you let him talk to you like that? I don't know. Shut up. All right. Let's take some calls. Thanks, Dara. That was awesome. Okay, let's pick up Middletown, New York. Hey, New York. What's going on?
Hey, Mark. It's Mark. How are you?
Hey, are you in the hospital still?
No, I'm out. I'm home, finally.
How long were you?
Hey, you didn't have any trolls, so you suck, queer.
That's your troll?
Yeah, well, that's the best they could come up with.
You suck, queer?
Is this Zulu 1?
Yes, this is Zulu.
Hey, Dave.
So Zulu has a hangout, a meetup, and then doesn't show up.
I know.
Yeah, ends up in the hospital. I know. I was so mad. So freaking mad. I couldn't believe it. I was like, just floored. I don't even know if anybody went.
There was six of us there.
You went?
I went. I called you, Mark. You talked to us. I called you while you were out there with the film crew. I said, I'm at the meetup. Remember, you returned my call and you talked to everybody on speakerphone.
Right. Sorry, I was getting dehydrated during that whole trip. And I was drinking. I was making up some drinks.
Nice. I was laying on a cold slab that they run 40-degree water underneath you. And it's basically like you're lying in the middle of the street in a snowstorm, just freezing, trying to get the temperature down. That's where I was. It was fun.
Really?
Yeah, it's horrible. Horrible. Don't wish it on anybody.
So what are you just calling in? Are you just calling in to say hi, or just give us some New York crap?
I wanted to say hi, and I also wanted to apologize to everybody because I feel like a piece of crap that, you know, I end up in the hospital. I try setting this thing up, and then I don't even make it. And I want to try again in September. I just have to wait till I get my EMT schedule. I have a class coming up, so I have to work that in, and then I'll try setting up another one. I so want to meet everyone. I'm just dying to meet you, David. I love your work. I mean, I missed the Eclipse, and you guys, you and Mike, both your videos. It was like I got to see it. It was great. I needed that. You know, it was horrible being there.
Thank you.
And I'm
You guys are awesome.
I'm going to use Mike's photo that he sent me with the cool bands that we were talking about earlier. I'm going to use that as the thumbnail. I've changed the thumbnail on this episode like 3 times already, and I never do that. But I'm going to use Mike's because he's got a cool, the one with the yellow ring around it that you drew.
Yeah, that's the electromagnetic field.
Yeah, I'm totally going to use that. So.
Yeah, it was just amazing. And I'm so glad that we got so much footage and that everybody's participating and looking at this. I'm amazed. I'm amazed that we never caught this before, these things, you know. Now we have this technology.
Oh, I know. Who would have thought? I didn't even really pay attention to the eclipse. And then as it was drawing closer and closer, I was realizing that this could be a real opportunity for us. And then the Flat Earth Oregon set up that billboard at the intersection of Interstate 5 and Portland Avenue down in Salem, which was perfect because there was a huge traffic jam out there. You know, there wasn't a million people that were trying to get into Salem, but there was a huge traffic jam, and it was great. And all the stuff that's coming out now, yeah, it's definitely a flat Earth eclipse. And the T-shirt that I was wearing, that the Peanut Gallery, I know they're not real. Okay, so I ordered my own T-shirt, and it said that 2017 blackout, flat Earth blackout, and it's perfect. I'm sorry, flat Earth blackout 2017, which was, and people were coming up to me and asking me where they could find that shirt. Because it was like some rare concert shirt or something. It's like, oh, dude, totally.
Yeah, well,
there's
we
only
have
a couple, right, in existence.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
Oh, well, I didn't cut in people. It is a flat Earth eclipse. Dr. Zach called me from Morocco. He's got eclipse pictures. I got eclipse pictures from Spain. And Stan, I believe the British Isle of Wight from the UK, also has eclipse pictures. And nobody said anything about the eclipse showing up over there.
Yeah. Well, heck, I watched the computer graphic simulations on that, and where the eclipse, started just a little bit off the west coast of the United States, and then died somewhere just outside the Bermuda Triangle. And I'm going, so when I heard it was like, oh yeah, they could see it in these different spots, I was going, how does that work exactly? How do you pulling that off? Unless there was something else going on that they just, they said, oh yeah, this is the path of the eclipse, and then hopefully nobody noticed. Nobody else would look. Why would you? It's the Great American Eclipse. Why would you even look in London? Why would you look in the Southern Hemisphere? So good points. Anyway.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
hey, I got a quote for all of you, including the your alter ego.
All right, he's got one for you too. Go ahead.
Okay. And this I think applies because actually while I was in the hospital, I was talking to all the nurses and doctors and spreading flat Earth, and they were like, "Wow, you're not even like
wow, you suffered a head injury."
this and it was funny because of course the high fever in the beginning.
Oh my God!
But after they're like, no way, they were believing me. They were listening. They were going home to talk to their spouses.
Further tests.
Maybe. So here's my quote.
Right, what is
one moment can change a day. I'm sorry. One moment can change a day. One day can change a life, and one life can change the world. And I just think it applies to everybody. Just, hey, you know what? I guess now is the time to talk about this stuff. Talk to people.
That's like the positive version of that
conversation.
Agreed. That's like the positive version of let's see. The horse was lost for lack of a nail. The knight was lost for lack of a horse. The so on and so on. And the battle was lost for that chain of events. type of thing. That's the reverse version of what you just said, which is
and that was Buddha.
Nice. All right. Peanut Gallery comes back with, there are no forbidden questions in science, no matter too sensitive or delicate to be probed, no sacred truths. Who said that? Carl Sagan.
You know, that two-faced son of a bitch is right, though. You have to ask. We have to ask those questions. We can't believe the things that they're telling us. It doesn't make sense. I mean, David and Mike every day, and Mark, you, the three of you are always pointing it out. You know, hey, ask questions. Look at this shit. This doesn't fucking make sense. You know, awesome.
Don't take things at face value. Don't. There's too many things out there that we take as face. So I learn new stuff every single day. There's little trivia things that you find out. You look at something and you think, oh yeah, that's the way it is. No, it is not. It is not the way it is. No, the saying is things are rare. The quote is things are rarely what they first appear to be. And I firmly believe that, you know.
I agree. I tell my son, you have to learn something new every day. You don't have to believe what they tell you at school. You have to do the work, but you have to ask questions and be critical, and just don't believe everything you're told, even from me, because I'm
actually thinking of doing that actually at the conference in Raleigh, because I've been working on, you know, because the speech thing really depends on what happens in the next few months. I've changed it like 3 or 4 times already. I only have like an hour to talk. And it's like, oh, what do I talk about now? Because now it's like, do I work the Eclipse in? Who knows? But I was thinking at one point, it's like, you know what? I end most of my videos with do your own research and ask questions. And I think I'm going to do what they did down at the conference in Atlanta, which is after, you know, I'm going to do like a short little thing, and I'm not going to I'm not going to talk for an hour. And then I'm just going to open the floor up and say, all right, grab a microphone, ask me whatever you got. Cause there's no
Q&A is the best.
I'm not going to be able to talk to all of you during this thing. Even if I spend, you know, hours and hours in the lobby, they're just way too much. I mean, heck, the meetup that I did with D. Marble and Patricia and Paul on the plane, there were people by the time I got to the parking lot. There was only 50-something people there that I still hadn't talked to by the time I got to the parking lot. Can you imagine pushing 1,000 people? How am I even going to manage that? It's going to be really, really tough.
That's how they did it at the MUFON conference I went to. They talked for a few minutes and then just everybody lined up and they answered as many questions as they could.
Exactly. They do that at a lot of things now. Like they do that at Comic-Con and Star Trek and all that stuff. It's a good way to do it. In fact, I may even give out you know what? It just made me think of it. I'll give out signed Illuminati cards to anyone that asks a question.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'll get one of those silver pens.
Nice. I'm going to try to get that flat earther card from you.
No, because I don't have that one. That one, that's not.
Patricia has it.
Yeah, Patricia's got it. She's also got the 9/11. You know me, I'm such an idiot. It's like I gave her the really good cards. Why did I do that?
That's funny.
She was like,
I can't wait. The conference is coming so fast.
I know, which is spell. Anyway, any shout outs or whatever before we go to somebody else?
Just everybody just keep up the good work, you know, keep up the fight. You're doing awesome stuff. You know, like I said, you're making people ask questions, and that's the most important thing, because I don't think, you know, and I think you've said it, you know, even about us joking about calling you the father of flat earth and stuff, that there shouldn't be leaders. You shouldn't be following. You should be looking yourself.
No, and I'm
researching yourself.
I am eternally grateful. There's so many people doing things. In fact, it tickled me to death that ODD, the guy that interviewed him, the guy from NBC News, he was catching, he was rattling around in his head so much, he did a follow-up on air and tried to light up flat Earth, you know, and really hit flat Earth. And it was great. It's like, yeah, that's because ODD got in his head. And now this guy, he's got to resolve it one way or the other, and it's driving him insane, because as a journalist, he can't do it. He can't go along with it. But at the same time, part of his brain wants him to. So it's fascinating.
No,
unless you work for CNN, they can do it.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Unless you're working for CNN, they can get by with it, but a real journalist, no.
Exactly. There you go. Yeah, and CNN, I'm still waiting. I talked to them. You know, he recorded the whole thing, and we talked for 45 minutes. and he was totally legit. I vetted him out, and he's still sitting on it. Still sitting on it because he knows the repercussions, and I can't wait.
Yeah,
can't wait to
corporate.
see.
Corporate's not pulling the trigger.
No, not yet. Yeah, there's somebody above him. There's a producer above him that you can tell is like, no, not yet. We got to wait for the spaceships. Then maybe. Anyway.
No, and you're right. You're right, because like my friends that totally say they don't believe are always talking about it. I mean, more than me. I'm like, dude, give it a rest. Jesus, what's wrong with you? You know, there's other things. Yeah, you're right. Gets in their head. All right, I'll go. Thank you for the time. I appreciate it. Thank you for everybody out there. That was giving me best wishes and hoping I felt better. Thank you. I appreciate it, and I will try definitely to start another one.
Okay, and by the way, contact Peanut Gallery because he says you haven't called him. Is that what he said? Is that right?
Okay. I'll do that. That's telepathically, right? Because he doesn't exist.
Exactly. He doesn't. So it's my split personality saying that you should contact the Peanut Gallery.
You're not making it any better, Mark. You're not making this any better. You're reinforcing my point.
I love it. You guys are awesome, man.
All right.
Thank you. Have a good night, fellas. Everybody be good.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. So let's pick up. We got time for a couple more calls. Let's pick up, and I cannot even begin to pronounce the name of this place. It's in New York, though. 914 area code? 914 area code in New York. Are you there?
What area is it, Mark?
914.
What's the area?
Oh, it says, I can't pronounce it. It's an abbreviation for something. WSCHSTZ.
Westchester.
Oh, Westchester. Westchester, New York. Are you there?
Yeah, Westchester, New York. I'm here in the live and ready to go. Bronxville, New York.
Hit us. What do you got?
Oh, Chris Cannell here from Westchester.
Hey.
DC on YouTube.
Oh, right on.
How are you, Mark?
Good.
Oh, yes. Okay, now I'm going to agree with you on a couple of things here. You know, during the solar eclipse, I of course, we all observed quite a bit here. I'm going to agree with you on that the sun eclipses itself, just like the moon does on any eclipse itself. So there's actually another body, or the sun is actually eclipsing itself.
Okay. And?
My question to you is,
yes.
The only problem with that is that I can't zoom in on the P900 on the actual craters that are eclipsing the sun because it's totally blacked out. Completely.
Okay.
And there's no way of getting any crescent from the moon going over the sun itself or the earth going over the sun itself. It's just a blacked out. I mean, this is the most incredible thing I've ever seen in my life. Just like everybody else. I mean, you just see this crescent come over that's perfectly circle going over the sun itself. And I mean, you know, again, on a couple of my videos, I said the last time I was able to actually see this, I was in 8th grade. I believe that was in oh God, I don't want to age myself.
That's okay. It's all right. I'm probably older than you are. Maybe.
No, you're not. No, I think I'm older than you. I think it was about 1979. That's when they.
Oh, okay. So you're a little older.
So I mean, it was completely cloudy. The science teacher brought us out there, and he just said, "Oh no, we're not going to watch this anymore because we can't go. You know, let's go back in the classroom. It's all cloudy." Right. So we couldn't actually see it. That was the only experience that I could have ever actually had with the eclipse. This is the first eclipse here in New York that you could actually really see. You know, I was quite stumped on this.
Yeah. But do you kind of go along with, if you were listening to the show tonight, you kind of go along with what DITRH and Mike were saying, that it's eclipsing itself?
Yes, exactly. Well, that was because I heard your interview a couple of weeks ago, you know, on that radio station, and it is actually eclipsing. It's actually eclipsing itself, and there's no explanation other than that's the reason why you're seeing this solar eclipse. Because we live, unfortunately, on a flat plane. And it just sucks.
What do you mean eclipsing itself? Is it just turning part of itself off? Is that what you're saying?
Me? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that that's
that's what I'm saying too.
It would be the easiest way to do it. I mean, if you're talking about, we could do this now. We're only talking about pixels.
Yeah.
Really. Just if you have a super, super bright, whatever, I don't even know what name the light source they're using, but let's say it's a super LED, right? But it's billions of them, or how many of you could fit on an object that's whatever it is, or made up, or what Mike was saying, maybe whatever the original projection system is. Because otherwise we're going to be going in backwards leaps. Whatever it is dimming itself by gradient. You know what I mean? So it's sort of like what we can do in a planetarium now with the moon, they can do with the sun, whoever they may be.
Yeah, exactly. And go down the Hayden Planetarium and they can switch it on and off and do whatever they want. And that's exactly what we have right here.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I agree.
What
I
mean, it really.
Go ahead. Sorry, we got a little bit of lag.
No, I know. This voice-activated system on these phones suck. No, I mean, I completely agree with that 100%. I mean, it really is amazing that. But yet, what I would like to find on any other eclipse that anybody can experience, is there any way of getting that? I mean, that perfect circle. I mean, I saw it. You saw it. Everybody saw it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, during this, and I mean, we haven't seen one in 100 years here on the North Coast, and traveling from coast to coast, from the West Coast to the East Coast. I mean, really, has anybody captured any crescent or any crater or anything like that? I mean, it was just such a.
Oh, you mean like actual evidence of the moon, like something that hints that there was that it was a three-dimensional? No, as far as I know, nobody's caught any sort of. Because of what you were just saying, that the contrast is well, they'll blame it on the contrast. They'll say that it can't be done. At the same time, you're going to go down that line. How in the world did we see the back side of the Apollo program, the Apollo capsule? If the contrast should have been so stark that it should have just been blackness on the other side of that capsule, and you could tell it was lit up by a secondary light source. But that's a whole other thing.
No, you know what? You're misunderstanding. I'm sorry, Mark. What I was talking about is just the perfect circle right around. I mean, there's no indentation at all with that shadow. That's what I should have said. I should have said the shadow itself. I mean, there's no bumps or bruises on. Yeah, I mean, it's just so perfect, and that's why I believe, and I agree with you on that is actually the sun is eclipsing itself, because there's no other way of it happening. The sun actually eclipses itself, and the moon eclipses itself, and the moon and the lunar eclipses are very often. I mean, they happen 2 or 3 times a month.
Sure.
I mean, here we are dealt with a situation. The last one was 1919. I mean, we had one in 1979, but it was obscured by the clouds, and it's never often from coast to coast. But I mean, actually seeing such a perfect circle just completely obscure the sun.
Can I address this, Mark?
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead, shoot.
Hey, New York, how you doing? First of all, thank you for watching with us. And you're right, it is a perfect circle. The moon's not hanging her craters out, so to speak, for us to see. And another thing I don't think people realize is what you're seeing is a pure absence of any light. That is as black as anybody's going to see. And I sent Mark a photo of this.
Yeah.
And I want you to think about it. And I'm going to give another explanation here, because the moon was supposed to be there, because we track the sun, we track the moon. The Sun and Moon group tracks it. David Marsh tracks it. And I'm going to give you guys another scenario. Okay. And first of all, I wish I could shoot my brain frequencies to you and give you a link to look up. But search for ferrocell. It's FERROCELL on YouTube. Ferrocell electromagnetic. Search that out, because this whole thing looks just like somebody's taking a lighted ferrocell over a very powerful magnet. Kind of think about what happens if you took a big, strong magnet to one of those old television, those tube TVs, and you stuck it right in the center there. all the light, you're going to bend that light and it's going to create a big black circle in the middle of that screen. And what we're thinking, if the moon was there, and the moon is a dielectric negative magnetic light, and the sun is a positively charged magnetic light, then we're going to have a frequency cancellation at those points. And that is something else we're looking at right now. And once again, we're just throwing ideas out there. We're all making observations, and we're all saying, hey, it's nothing like they told us when we were in school.
Oh, absolutely. And everything that from we learned in school is complete nonsense, obviously. And I agree with that 100%. But I mean, I'm I'm sorry, I'm talking to Mark right now.
That's okay.
Model of the flat, geocentric Earth.
Make it somewhat quick. We're running out of show.
I know. We only have like 15 more seconds. Okay. I told my wife that the how can water bend?
Yeah.
And she said it was absolutely crazy. So, I mean, there I am with that. Okay.
Well, at least you put it out there.
Yeah, no, I'm putting a lot out there. That's what I have to do. That's my thing.
Gotcha.
But
all right, Ben.
how can water bend?
All right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. How can water bend? You're right. It can fill a container, and it can't. I mean, it can have water tension on the surface in small doses, but
it to its level. That's how it is.
Yep. Any shout outs before we send you out? Because I got to close these guys out and let them pitch whatever.
Okay, I'm glad Zulu One's all right. Everything's good with him. I lost contact with him for a couple of days there, and Mark, you're doing a great job. And
thanks.
Log on to my YouTube channel, CC, whatever. Check it
right
out.
on.
Just a little
I will.
blog. Okay, Mark.
Keep
All
the
right,
faith
excellent.
and stay flat, brother.
All right, my friend. Absolutely.
All right. See you, Ben.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye. All right. That is going to be, I hate to say that to the rest of the people that are lined up, but that is going to be the last call of the night. So we're going to do some shameless plugs for our guests. One is going to be DITRH. His YouTube channel is also called DITRH, otherwise known as Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole. Go. What else you got to pitch?
Check me out and Curious Jay on the Flat Earth Podcast. We got Facebook. We have a YouTube page, and you could get it on any podcast player. All the links are on theflatearthpodcast.com. Leave us a speak pipe message there. It's kind of a voicemail for the web, and we'll play it on the show. And on the bottom of that page on theflatearthpodcast.com, there's a link to the billboard. You can see what we're going to be doing down in North Carolina if you want to be a part of it. A little donation is always nice to help pay for it. Or, if you can't do that and you want to just be part of the media blitz, feel free to just keep tuned into the Flat Earth Podcast.
Right on. And Mike Helmick, otherwise known as Mike Helmick from his YouTube channel, HELMICK. Any other sites you want to go to, or just point them at your YouTube thing?
Yeah, just go to my YouTube channel. If you go to my channel, I am the Christian Flat Earther. So you're going to get 66 books only. Jesus is Lord of my life. He's Lord over everything. And a lot of my observations will be backed with scripture. So if that is your thing, head to my channel. And I know, appreciate you guys supporting us, supporting Mark, DITRH, and myself. And thank you for listening to Truth Frequency Radio.
Right on. We'll see you next week. Same flat time, same flat channel. Down for 1 sec, guys.
Baby, what is this? What is this? Is that a model of the flat geocentric Earth? Nice.
I had to make a new one. What are you doing?
Dancing